What up, guys? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about the 5 lessons that I learned while dating as a simp. As I've told you guys on the show before, back in my late teens to early 20s and in my college years, I was not a great dater. In fact, I was probably one of the simpiest guys you could possibly imagine. I was overdoing, I was over communicating, I was putting women on pedestals, all the stuff that you may be trying to stop yourself from doing. But in the process of doing that, I caught a lot of lumps. Like I got a lot of rejections. I got a lot of hard truths thrown at me. And because of that, even when I was going through it, I was always open to the idea that, you know what? These are ultimately lessons to be learned. And this is important for you to know, is that if you're not so angry at women about the way that they're acting towards you or that you're not getting your way with them, you can start to open up and realize, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not always them. Maybe it actually is me. And there's parts of this that I could be doing better that would actually make women feel more comfortable around me, be more attracted, and allow me to have a longer term relationship. And so in looking back on my simp years, as I'll say, I learned a lot. We're going to get into that today. We're also going to be answering back to a guy that I answered in the previous video, whereby he had a woman that he didn't text for 4 days after a date. And when she responded, it was basically like, oh, I didn't think you were that interested. And she was really like hurt by it or whatever. So I answered that in the previous video. Well, this guy wrote me back and gave me an update on what happened since then. And I want to go through what his response was because he gave me more details about why she responded the way she did and the situation she said she was going through. And he wants to know if this means that it was perfectly understandable that she would A, be mad at him not texting, and B, want to kind of pull away from him. And I think it'll be quite eye-opening because, guys, women tell us a lot of stuff and we want to believe them. We want to think that, well, it's not that they can't date us. It's just that they have all these other things going on or they're going through these situations and therefore I should understand that. And I want you to know that women can sound very logical and reasonable even when they're not being logical and reasonable because they want to get rid of you. So we'll get into that. But first, I want to make an announcement on today's show. Over the years, I've worked on a variety of projects. I have the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy that's open now. And one of the things that I did was way early on when I first started this giving advice journey is I wrote a book. I wrote a book called No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. And that was the book where I go through why all the mistakes that I was making back in the day caused women to head for the hills. Well, in that book, I used the character of Non Juan, which is, a Don Juan is a guy that can get women. And so a Non Juan is a guy that is horrible with women. And I used the example of becoming a Non Juan throughout the course of the book to illustrate to guys that this is not how you want to be. Well, over time, I actually created a puppet character you guys may know that's also called Non Juan that I've displayed in a few episodes. Well, a while back, I actually recorded a set of songs as the Non Juan character to kind of go hand in hand with the No Girls for You book. And so I'm going to be releasing that album very soon. And the album itself is called No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. And this is a collection of funny songs that is inspired by the book. And if you've seen some of the videos with Non Juan, he goes through his own journey of like not doing the right things with women and giving really great examples of why the things he's doing actually cause women to head for the hills. And so I thought it'd be like an interesting little project to put together. And so this collection of songs is going to be available on Friday, February 10th, 2023. Now, it'll be available on all streaming platforms, but also I'm doing something very special for you because if you go to the website and actually purchase the album, you will actually get a free copy of the No Girls for You ebook. And so the album's digital. The book is obviously digital. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make any hard copy versions of this album. But either way, when you get the album, it'll come with the book. So you can actually read the book and learn stuff about what not to do. And then also listen to the album. It's very, very funny. We got a couple of parody songs on there, but it's mostly original stuff with Non Juan rapping about these very situations that he's in and trying to impress women and it not working out. So again, the Non Juan album, it's basically a soundtrack to the book. So it's No Girls for You, the ultimate guide to losing the girl of your dreams. The album soundtrack by Puppet Non Juan will be coming out on February 10th, 2023. Again, when you purchase the website, you'll get a free copy of the ebook as well, which is like, it's a 156-page ebook. So you're going to learn a lot. You're going to read a lot. The book's funny, and also the album's funny. And as the weeks start to come out, like when we hit January, I'm going to start putting out music videos. I currently have 4 music videos shot for the Non Juan album, and I'll probably shoot a couple more after the album comes out. But you'll be getting a video a week from me in January to go with this album, okay? And again, the videos and the songs are hilarious. So be sure to be with me on that journey, and I'll be putting out more information about this album as it comes closer to February, all right? So just wanted to get that out the way. So now I want to talk to you guys about my simping years. And I realized a couple of days ago that it's going to be 2023 and it's now 2022. Back in 2002, when I was a junior in college, I was still trying to figure women out. And this is around the time when I had several situations going on with a couple of women that I had attraction for, and I was just not, I was not good. Like I was horrible dating. I was overly obsessive. I was there too much. I was trying to overgive of myself, and it just wasn't a good time. And so I took a break from school in 2003 to do a 5-month tour with a theater company. And it was me and 5 other guys. They were like, of the 6 of us, 4 of us were straight, 2 of them, one of them was bi and one was gay. But the ones that were straight, they were going out, like we would go to these cities, right? And we'd go do a play. And then at nighttime, we'd go out and just have fun and do whatever. And I'd go with these guys to bars, and I'm just looking at them like, oh my God, like they're just picking up women left and right. They're saying all the wrong things, all the mean, horrible things that you shouldn't be saying to women, and slapping them on the butts and doing all this stuff that's just, I thought was just rude and not gentlemanly like. And they were the same ones that were like taking women back to our hotel and having fun with them, while I was going back to my hotel just like at 21, wishing to God like I could do that. And so 2003 is when I really started studying up on attraction and women and how everything works. And over time, I got less angry. But back in 2002, again, I was still simping. And by that point, I was my 3rd year in college. And despite, all the stuff I was trying to do to get women, it just was not working, which is actually what caused me to end up writing the book, No Girls for You, the ultimate guide to losing the girl of your dreams. So in hindsight of that, while I was simping and not doing a good job, there was a part of me that was constantly collecting information about, okay, what are you actually doing right now that's causing you to fail? What is it that you're not doing with women that turns them off? Or you'll attract a woman, and then as you're dating her or trying to date her, she starts to slowly pull away and you're not getting it. You're just not understanding what's going on. And so from those recollections, I have come up with 5 lessons that I learned from being a simp. And I'm going to go into some of the situations that I was in and also go through what each of these are. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first lesson that I learned from being a simp is that if you don't view yourself as the prize, women will not want you. Now, there's this debate in society today about whether women are the prize in dating or whether men are the prize in dating. And to that, I say this. Here's the hardcore reality. Women, as a general rule, are usually trying to go for, I'd say high value men, but I don't want to mean that in the sense of like you got to have a lot of money, you got to have a lot of status. That's not what I'm talking about. But women want a guy who in their eyes is a guy that has some kind of value and is somebody that potentially every other woman out there wants and is somewhat hard to get. In order to be hard to get, you have to be a guy that is so self-assured of himself that you're not going to just take any woman that comes to you. You have to be selective. So by default, if you are a guy that is acting selective, then you are going to be seen as the prize by women. Women typically want to date guys that they think are better than them. That's why they're looking for men to be leaders. She can't be led by somebody that thinks is less of himself or is below her. And so when I was in my sipping days, I didn't quite get this. But what I started to recognize was that this whole thing about if you're a shy guy, if you're an anxious guy, if you're a guy that gets nervous around women, all that energy that you're throwing out there is telling women that you do not view yourself as the prize, that if you're nervous and anxious, that you don't have the confidence to know what to do with the woman, and that therefore you also cannot lead her, because if she's following your lead and you're anxious and you're seeing yourself as beneath her, it is now a dangerous position for her to be in, because she wants somebody that's going to lead her to safety, lead her to make the right decisions in life about things, lead her to be able to have good counsel. And if you're of the viewpoint that she's actually better than you and that she has higher value than you, then she can't come to you and feel safe around you to want to date you. And I did this many times in my college days, where I would just be all nervous and anxious around women, or I would do the thing like that you probably do at parties, where you see a hot girl and you like kind of stand next to her and you hope that by standing next to her, she's going to make the first move. None of these things make her view you as the prize. They make her recognize that you're putting her on a pedestal, and therefore you're not hard to work for, and therefore she's not going to want you. Okay. So this is why it's important to really work on how you view yourself. It's important to work on how you talk to yourself. And a lot of times our brains are giving us a lot of negative talk. So you could be subconsciously sabotaging your chances with women simply because you're saying things like, oh, I'm not worthy. Well, I'm not a 10. Why would this woman date me? She's in a different league than I am. She's so out of my league, I can't get her. All that does is put you lesser and lesser on the chain, to where women are going to be able to feel from your energy that you don't see that you have value, and therefore you are not a prize to be won. So work on that. Work on the psychology. Work if you have to go to a therapist, if you have to start doing daily exercises where you talk to yourself positively. But the more self-assured of yourself that you are, the better chance you have of women seeing you as the prize and wanting to be around you long term. So that was the first lesson I learned. The second lesson that I learned from my years dating as a simp is that you really, really do not need money to attract women. Because when I was in college, I had the thought, I got to have money in order to get women. And so I would be down on myself quite often. But in looking back, I realized the women that were actually attracted to me, it wasn't about me having to take them out. It wasn't about me having to spend a lot of money on them. It wasn't about me having to order food at their dormitory to give to them. It wasn't about getting them gifts or anything like that. It was, we went in class together. We had a good rapport. I made her laugh, not even trying. I just made her laugh. And then she was feeling me. But because I was in my head, I had my own thoughts about how dating should work and what women are going to be attracted to. And so I just thought, if I don't have any money, well, then these women aren't going to want to date me. And so when you do that kind of thing, what can happen is it's like putting horse blinders on. You now blind yourself to all the women around you that would actually go for you, because you're thinking, but dating's got to be this way. And if I don't have a certain kind of money or certain kind of car, or certain kind of job, then there's no way a woman's going to want to see me. And you're missing all the women over here and all the women over here that just want a good guy that's going to treat them right, be fun around, maybe you have a good hookup with, and will ultimately make them feel like they're the best person in the world. And so you don't need money to do that stuff. There are plenty of broke dudes right now that just learned how to talk to women, what women find attractive, and how to spit that kind of game. And they go out and darn near talk the chick out of her money. Like, I've been the dude that's been able to go to bars and actually get women to pay for drinks for me. I couldn't do that in college because I thought, like, well, I gotta, I don't have the money to buy a drink and take them out these expensive things. And here's the thing too. I also learned this by accident, is that there were times in my college years where I actually had money. Like, either I had a job, or I just, I was getting, because I was on scholarship, they would give us money and some of it went to like whatever, but I could just spend some of it. And so there would be times where I'd have an interest in a woman and I'd take her to like some hightail event. Like, I took one girl one time to Disney on Ice, and those tickets were pretty expensive. I took another woman to a concert, and I'm thinking, I'm spending this money. I'm taking on this really high profile date. It's going to be a great time. They're going to like me. Like, the next time I ask him out, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah. And so what I realized is that, wait a minute, the money might help me get a good date. But like, if I don't have a good personality, if I don't know how to like build rapport with a woman or continue a conversation, or even like, how to show up without my clothes wrinkled, or the kind of cologne to wear, or like how to really talk to her in a way where she's going to start feeling the tingles, then I could spend all the money in the world and not keep the woman. And if you notice in today's society, there are plenty of billionaires that have now lost their wives. If those billionaires with all their money can't keep women, then I want you to start to realize that while having money is great and it's good to be able to show like you can eventually buy a house or a car to, make sure women's not going to die in the cold or whatnot, that in terms of the attraction process, money is not really the thing you all actually need to really pull a lot of women. Like I've been broke living on people's couches and still been able to pull women at times easier than when I had money, because the money becomes a crutch. And so you have to learn to develop your personality to not have to rely on these other things to be crutches for you. Like, yeah, you having a nice car, fantastic. That gets old after like 10 seconds. You having a high paying job, that's great. But again, it's your money. Even if you're spending it on her, the thing you buy her is going to get old real quick. What else you got? You got a personality? If not, she's going to be gone. So that was a really important lesson that I learned in college. Like, these high-end dates aren't going to keep women around. The third lesson that I learned from dating while being a simp back in my college days was that playing hard to get gentlemen works in your favor. Women are actually great at this because they take 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings about you. They're taking 3 months to do their vetting to make sure that you are the right choice for them. And what most men do is after 2 or 3 dates, they're ready to wipe this woman up and dump all the other girls they're seeing. And then they don't understand why the woman is no longer attracted. Well, maybe it's because you're putting all this energy on her that's indicating to her you're ready for a relationship. And more importantly, you're easily accessible all the time. She texts you up, you're ready to answer right away. Even if you're at work, you'll go out of a meeting to be able to make sure that you're getting that text back. If she says, let's hang out today, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, you're like, I'm available all those days. And when that happens, what happens typically is relationship burnout. And I've talked about that on the show before too, I'm sure you've probably experienced the thing of like, you meet a girl, you're having a great rapport, you take her out on a couple of dates, you're texting nonstop back and forth, you take her out 3 times that first week, and by the second week, you don't know what's going on. You just know she's pulling away, she's not texting you as much, and now when you ask her out, she's suddenly busy. What happened? Flame out. You were there, you were easily accessible, and it was too much too soon, and she got tired of you. And when I was in my college years, I kind of dabbled this by mistake because again, I had my blinders on, I wasn't always noticeable of the women around me that had crushes on me. So there was one woman that I was actually tutoring back in my freshman year, and I had seen her the summer before when we were at pre-college, and there was kind of a vibe there. When we got to school that year, I heard she had a boyfriend. At some point during that first semester, they had broken up because she was in college and he was like 5 states away. So I started tutoring her though, and I'm thinking, okay, she just got out of a relationship and she has an ex or whatever, and so I don't want to rock the boat, so I'm just gonna like tutor her and that's it. So I tutored her like 2 times a week, and what started to happen was she would call to hang out. She would randomly stop by my dorm just to see if I was there to say hi, I wanted to see what's going on, and blinders. I wasn't taking into account that meant that she was actually interested, but because I didn't know that, what was I not doing? I wasn't trying to call her all the time. I wasn't trying to text her nonstop. I wasn't trying to have any extra interactions with her other than just us studying together. And so that meant that now she had to work for my attention. If she saw me in the cafeteria, she had to come over to me. If she wanted to see more of me, she had to call my dorm and say, hey, let's go for a walk around campus. Didn't catch any of that until like towards the end of the year. I was just like, oh, crap. She probably liked me. And by that point, I think her and her ex got back together. So it was too late. But that's when I start to recognize that, because then after that happened, I would be dating girls sporadically throughout my college years. And sure enough, I'd have attraction. I'd start hitting them up, and then I'd start hitting them up too much. And then I'd be anxious that they weren't responding right away. So I'd start writing poems and writing these letters about all this yada, yada, yada. And next thing you know, they'd no longer be interested because I was there too much. And what really taught me this was actually, there was this woman that I had a crush on my junior year. It was just one of the women that like caused me to start looking up stuff, right? So my junior year of college, I knew this woman had a crush on me, but I wasn't making any moves. And there would be things like she would invite me over to her place to watch some TV, and then she'd be looking at me as she's about to go to bed like, well, I guess I'm going to go to bed now. Linger, linger, linger. And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go. Not knowing that was a signal like, if you want to stay, you want to cuddle up, because as a guy, women are gonna still expect you to be dominant, even if they're coming up to the line of making the majority of the moves. It's gonna be like these passive things, like, "Hey, I'm gonna invite you to my place. We're gonna sit on the couch. I'm gonna sit close to you. I'm gonna say, well, it's getting late. I might be going to bed soon. And then at that point, usually the guy is supposed to just recognize, oh, it's time for me to like say, let's go to your room and do some stuff. And so anyway, it got to a point where finally one of our mutual friends told her like, oh yeah, Harry likes you. And then I tried to call her and say, hey, so just, I really like you. Again, simp behavior. And she was like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that you liked me. And, I could tell from blah, 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 this and that. But she wasn't saying, now we can like go on a date. Now we can get together. And from that point, I was just trying to call more. I was trying to talk to her in class more. I think I got her an album for Christmas that she had mentioned that she was a fan of a certain artist. I think it was like Janet Jackson. So I got her Janet Jackson album for Christmas, and she was just like, oh, thanks, like whatever, right? So I go away on this. So I'm there too much. And I go away on this 5-month play thing, right? And I start studying up on people like Doc Love and David D'Angelo and these other people. And one of the things that Doc Love said was like, hey, like, that's when I learned about the whole no contact rule of like, if this other person's not trying to talk to you or reach out, then just like stop. And here's the important thing. Here's the important lesson, by the way, about no contact. I see a lot of people getting this wrong, right? Is that the idea of no contact is not that I'm going to go no contact for a month, then I'm going to like reach out to her and see what she feels about that or whatever. Like no contact is supposed to be like designed to like, you're legitimately walking away. Like you're basically subconsciously saying, I don't want to deal with this behavior. And more importantly, if they're starting to pull away anyway, then they're already kind of doing no contact first. So you doing no contact, it's supposed to be, I'm doing no contact because she's not seeming to want to be around me. And so I don't want to give her any more energy or attention. And also no contact is designed for you to go focus on other women that are out there that maybe will want to contact you. Now, but the side effect of no contact, what the side effects can be is that over time, that person starts to realize you're not applying as much pressure as you were before, which allows them to get back to the state of like, well, I actually kind of like that guy. When he's not pressuring me, I'm thinking back on the good times, and I wish I could have more of these good times with him without the pressure that he brought before. But now that he's not pressuring me, maybe this could be a thing. And then so at that point, with no contact, of their own accord, they'll start to reach out to you, at which point you have to know the moves to make in order to get them into your good graces. If you go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and join the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, I talk all about how to do that. But the point is, so when I was doing this play, I was still writing some of my friends by email that were back at the school. And then we'd sporadically have breaks off from the play where I could drive down to my school and visit some of my friends. And so I just made it a point during those 5 months not to write her. I didn't contact her. When I would go to the school, I wouldn't try to seek her out. And there would be a couple of times when I would see her because we were in the same theater program. And there was like, I went there one time and they had just finished up a play. And one of the other girls was like, hey, we're going to all be having this dinner at this restaurant. Do you want to come? I said, sure. So I show up at the restaurant and she's there. And again, I'm feeling all kinds of hurt and she hasn't reached out to me. And she was, being so in my head nasty to me before I left, yada, yada, yada. I didn't bring any of that energy. I came to the dinner. She was there. I said, oh, hey, what's going on? So-and-so. Good luck. And then I sat like somewhere else that was on the table, but not the same. But like, yeah. And then she would sporadically come over to me. Hey, so how you doing? And, how's the play going? And yada, yada. Oh, no, it's going great. It's been fun times. And I did mention I was like emailing some of the other people back and forth, yada, yada, yada. But then I go back out on the road, wouldn't talk to her. The end of that 5 months, when I tell you, she reached out to me, said, hey, how'd your play go? I hope you had a good time, this and that. And then at that point, so she's reaching out to me now, right? And when I tell you, I was going to be going down there for something, and I hit her up like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. If you want to meet up for like, whatever, just let me know. Instant response back. Keep in mind, beforehand, this chick was not trying to contact me at all. I would call her, and she wouldn't answer back. Now it's like right away, oh, hey, I'd love to see you. What's it? So I go out there to do something else, and then I go to pick her up from her apartment, and she opens the door. And when I tell you, she was in some of the sexiest night robe I have ever seen in my life. Like it was like a full silk gown type of thing. Comes to the door looking all sexy, like, hey, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Now, again, this is my simp phase, guys. So my simp phase, when this was happening, I was just like, this must just be her like Saturday night, like her Saturday wear when she's at home. So acted like she wasn't trying to do nothing. In hindsight, she was definitely trying to do some stuff. But the point is, why was she trying to do stuff then? Because I wasn't giving her all this attention. To her, it's not like I'm playing hard to get. I'm not as easily tempted by her as I was before. And now I'm a challenge. And now she has to, in her own head, prove herself as if she can still be sexy to me. and it possibly lead to stuff. I was still simping, so it didn't. But that's what I learned in hindsight was that, oh, so I don't need to be so, if I'm not so easily accessible, women will recognize they have to work for my attention. And if they have a high interest in me, they will actually do it because they don't want to lose me. So some of you all are out there and you're attracting women and you're still in this mindset of, I got to text her all the time or she's going to feel some kind of way about it. I got to ask her out nonstop or she's going to feel some kind of way about it. And I'm telling you, women will get with your program. If you decide you want to wait 4 days between dates to contact her, then women that are highly interested will just accept it and wait. Or if they're really anxious, they're not going to hit you up and berate you with, you should have texted me and blah, blah, blah. No, they're going to hit you up very sweetly, like, hey, just want to see how you're doing. Hope you're having a good day. I'm thinking about you. Or they'll hit you up, hey, so, I was hoping to see you sometime this week. What are you doing tomorrow? Like, they'll start hitting you up for dates because when you're not so easily accessible and they're starting to wonder, like, how do I get to see him more? They, of their own accord, will come to you and start asking you for dates and volunteer to pay for stuff and volunteer to come over and cook you dinner and maybe stay over for a movie night or other things. But that's only going to happen if you're applying patience. And by the way, playing hard to get is not playing games. It's simply adding patience to your game to where you're moving a little bit slower than she is, because most women have the problem of dating guys that are moving faster than them. So, after that first date, the guy gets into the car and is texting her right away and trying to ask her out again right away. That's too fast. Whereas if you're waiting a couple of days to call her and you're patient between your dates and when you ask her out, that's moving slow enough to where she has to come to you in order to make these things happen. And as I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. Anyway, that was the third thing. The fourth lesson that I learned from being a simp was that when a woman loses interest in you, 9 times out of 10, it's because you changed in her eyes. Now, what do I mean by that? If you really start to look at how you're acting when you meet a woman and how you're acting 3 or 4 dates in, you may start to notice that you have a significant type of change that happens. You see, when you first meet a woman, you're not even sure you're going to get with her. So you might be, say you're at a party, if you're an introvert, you met her online, and then you guys meet up for a dinner date or something, right? So when you're talking to her online, you're jovial, you're throwing jokes back and forth, you're mentioning all these fun things you've done and these places you've been, and you seem to her like a really fun, awesome, amazing guy. And then she has that first date with you, and that first date is also great. You're telling jokes, you're making her laugh, you're making her feel comfortable, you're knowing when to say things and when not to, you're listening to her, you're letting her talk 70% of the time, which you should be doing on most of these dates, and you're doing absolutely great, right? But what typically happens is that you're doing that, right? So say that first date goes great, and then the next day, even though you shouldn't be doing this, you hit her up and say, hey, just want you to know I had a great time on the date yesterday. And you hit her up like in the morning, right? Crickets. You're sitting there like, okay, I just sent her a text. I know she read it because I can see it's on red, but she didn't respond back. What does this mean? And then so you wait hour 1, hour 2, hour 3. And now you're getting anxious. You're wondering if was the text that you sent the right kind of text? Does it indicate that you're doing too much? Like what's going on? You know what? You should send her another text to let her know that you're still, vibing with her, and you're going to try to start some kind of texting conversation to let her know that you really like her. So you send something else random. Hey, so how's your day going? Hope all is well. LOL. And you hear nothing back. So now it's like 3, 4, 5 hours now. And now you're freaking out. Hey, so is everything okay? Like, I hope you had a good time on the date. Like, if you don't like me anymore, then that's totally fine. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to you, she was busy all day at work. Like she read your text in the morning and then her boss hit her up with a call saying, hey, like we have an emergency happening like right now at the job. You got to come in right now. We got to fix this crap. And she's thinking, oh crap, I want to respond back like a little bit more than just like, thanks a lot. You know what? I'll get back to him after this emergency crisis. So she goes into work and all of a sudden stuff happens. Or she's a teacher. She's got to teach kids all day. Stuff happens. But the point is, she gets back to her phone at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like, oh, crap. Let me respond back to that guy because I totally forgot to. I had other texts that came in. I had other business things, and let me just get back to him. And she opens up her phone, and now she's looking at all the texts that she got, and the impression she had of you on the date was a strong, confident, funny guy. And the impression she has of you now on the phone here is a needy, anxious, low self-esteem, not so sure of himself guy. And so now in her eyes, you have changed to somebody that wasn't originally who you presented. In other words, who you were on the date and who she's seeing on her phone and who she's hearing about potentially in other interactions is now a lie. And this is when her interest starts to dwindle, because now she's wondering, is this how he always is? Or is the confident version how he normally is? And this is just a fluke. I don't know. But given the experiences that I've had, I'm going to err on the side of this is actually how he is. And now I got to start losing interest. And this happens so many times with, like, I've had women friends that are like, man, he was such a good guy. And he was on those first couple of dates was great. But then, like, he started blowing up my phone. He started showing signs of jealousy, of neediness, of not trusting me. And it turned me off. And so you got to look at you. It hurts when a woman that you had high hopes for starts to lose interest. But if that's happening on a repeated basis, you got to start, again, looking at how are you acting when women first meet you, and then how you acting later on. If you're confident and strong and funny when they first meet you, and then within a span of not even a month, you're turning to that guy that wants to have serious conversations and wants to talk about what this means, and you're, trying to emote all these feelings and trauma on her. That's not the guy that she was trying to go after, but that's the guy you're showing her now, and that's going to cause her to lose interest. So really study your behavior, because I can guarantee you, you've probably lost women that actually would want to stick around, but you started simping. And when I was in college, this happened quite often where I remember this one girl, like I met her through a friend of mine. It was her cousin, actually. She came to visit us at my school, and I'm thinking she goes to another school. She's in Richmond, and I'm down in Hampton and Newport News in Norfolk. I'm thinking I'll never see this chick again. So I'm just like busting her balls and having a good time and laughing. Like every other thing I'm saying, it was like she was laughing. Like it was like I was like a stand-up comedian to this chick. I couldn't believe it. And so ultimately, at the end of it, I was just like, hey, if I'm ever back in Richmond visiting my mom, like give me your number and I'll hit you up. And she did it. And like a week or two later, I remember J-Lo had a movie come out called Made in Manhattan. And I had a free ticket to a pre-screening of that in Richmond. And I had 2 tickets. So I hit her up and said, hey, I'm coming down to Richmond to stay with my mom, but I'm going to go see this movie. Do you want to go? Instant response. Oh, yes, absolutely. So great. So I took her out. Well, this is gonna go into the number 5 reason, but like I took her out, we had a good time, and then we get back to I go back to drop her off at her place, and I drop her off, and then the next few times I tried to hit her up, I kept doing this weird thing where I'd hit her up and say, hey, so and so, what's going on? And she'd be like, oh, hey, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, it's Harry. Like I would say my name to her every time as if she had a bad memory, and I did that enough times where it got really, really annoying, and like it was just like she just got turned off. And so, but that's because, again, at this point, I go from being the confident, funny, jovial guy when she first met me to like this guy that's not sure if I'm even important enough to remember, and she was out. And then the other part of that leads into this is the 5th lesson that I learned from being a simp during my college years, which is that no matter how modern women are, if anything is going to happen in the bedroom, you got to make the first move. Like they might get you to the goalpost, but you got to still kick the ball. So going back to my previous story, after the movie, I take her back to her dormitory and I'm going to drop her off outside, right? And she says to me, hey, do you want to come up and see my dorm room? Now, I'm 20 at this point, so I'm thinking like, I still have the mind frame of like, ultimately women don't really like me. They're going to think I'm weird. I've told most women at this point that I'm a virgin. There's no way she's going to want to invite me up to sleep with her, but I want to see her dormitory. I'd be curious to see what a girl's dormitory looks like. So we go up to their dormitory and she has other various mates and whatnot that are up there. But so we go in, I think I said hi to one of the other roommates, and then she takes me into her room. And when I tell you, her room was super small. It was so small, like her bed, which had to be like a king size bed, took up like 3/4 of the room. And I literally sat on the bed. I remember it clear as day. I sat on the bed. I thought to myself, what are we supposed to do in here with this big freaking bed in the way? So we sat, we talked for a little bit. And then I said, well, I got to go. And I left. And I think that was also a big part of her not wanting to go out with me anymore, because she was probably just thinking this guy just doesn't get it. But the same thing also happened with the other girl that I was crushing on, whereby the times that I'd go to her place, she'd be like giving me these hints of like, oh yeah, come over and help me study, or oh, watch TV, and oh, I'm getting tired. And I just wouldn't get it. And then even at the point where I finally started to understand, like, oh, these signals here indicate that she wants to hook up, I still wasn't able to like make that move. And I had another friend of mine that I had been friends with for like 3 or 4 years, that when I got back the next year of school to my senior year, we were just vibing. We were both RAs and we had time to just spend together by ourselves. And we were really vibing and feeling it. I was like, oh my God, like we've been friends for 3 years, but like she seems to have a crush on me. I have never been able to have a friend have a crush on me. This is freaking amazing. And I remember I invited her over one night because I'd made some food. And again, I'm still in my simp year, so I'm not correlating any of these moves that I'm about to tell you about. And I talked about some of this stuff, by the way, in my No Girls For You, the Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams book, which right now you can read if you join the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy. But anyway, so I had made some food and I'd hit up like 3 or 4 other women saying, hey, I literally just made too much food. Do you want to come over and eat? And the first 3 girls all said no. And then I hit this best friend of mine up, and she was like, well, I'm studying for a test, so I can't make it. And I was like, okay, cool, that's whatever. Fast forward to like 3 minutes later, she calls me up and is like, oh, I'm done studying, so if you want to come pick me up to have dinner at your place, and that's totally fine. Now, in hindsight, I didn't realize that I had inadvertently, to her, made a move that indicated that I wanted to do some bedroom stuff. I was just thinking, I literally have too much food and I want to watch a movie. I didn't know dinner and a movie at the time was code for come over and hook up with me. But that's an example of I made a move and she responded, boom. But when she came over, we literally ate food. At one point, I showed her my bedroom and then quickly walked right back out of my bedroom. We go on the couch to watch a movie. And at this point, we had been out enough to where I was kind of wanting to do some stuff, but I was still not completely like confident. So I'm like, have my arm around her. And at some point, I think I might have felt on her chest a little bit, but I wasn't making like the overt move to say, let's go to my bedroom, right? So we watched the first movie, we get to the end of it, and I go to I think I had a DVD player, and I'm like, well, at this point, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I say to her, well, we can watch another movie if that's okay with you. And her response was, I remember clear as day, she said, well, I have to be able to get back to my dorm by like 6 in the morning, if that's cool with you. To which I said, oh, I have no problem taking you back. We can watch this other movie and then go back later. And then I put the next movie in and we sat there for another hour and a half and watched the movie. And then I took her home. Not thinking that like we could have done literally like any other kind of stuff, including hook up, instead of watching that second movie. Because up to that point, I had made all these right moves. But ultimately, if I didn't say to her, hey, let's go to my bedroom, it just wasn't going to happen. And so that's when I got really depressed. And that's when I ended up like not passing my senior year because I was just so heartbroken that I thought I'd figured out women and hadn't, yada, yada, yada. And that is when I wrote the book, because I started reflecting back on all my mistakes and realized like, oh, I messed up in these major, major ways. But the point is this, is that ultimately it was my job to stick the landing, to kick the ball over the field, to get them to go to the bedroom. All the women got to do is make themselves available for it to happen. And so as a guy, you got to recognize what passive signals or sometimes overt signals are women putting out there or responding to that indicates they want to do stuff. For example, I've been on dates with women where like those first couple of dates, I drop them off at their place. They say bye to me in front of their apartment, but they don't invite me up. I know now's not the time. At the point where I dropped them off one day and they're like, hey, you want to come up for some water? You want to come up real quick to just talk? That lets me know, oh, they're actually trying to do some stuff. And since I know that that's the signal now, I know that when I go up there, I got to start kissing more passionately, touching them in certain places, yada, yada, yada. But the invite's there. But regardless of, women saying, oh, yeah, I don't mind sleeping around with guys and blah, blah, and I'm going to, make the move and this and that, they're not going to. Their version of making a move is doing something so passive that if you don't pick up on it, you're out. And you have to just kind of learn what those signals are. Again, if you join the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, we talk about a lot of that stuff in the academy, so you'll have a better idea of what signals women are sending to you, so you won't be simping out. All right. Oh, and then I actually want to give you guys a bonus lesson that I learned from being a simp. All right. And it's this, is that The most aggravating thing to women is when you ask them their opinion about what activities you should do. Anytime you ask a woman out, you should already have an idea of 3 to 5 different places that you could take a woman. If you're asking her out and then she says, well, that's great, what are we going to do? And your first response back is, I don't know, what do you want to do? What are you into? What do you like? You are going to lose. And I made this mistake early on in my college years when, the girls that would give me a chance. And to be fair, I got it enough early on where I was able to catch myself. But like early on, I'd ask them out and be like, okay, well, what are you into? What do you like? What kind of food do you like? Where do you want to go? Do you have any ideas of places around here that you would like to go to? Dude, women are giving you the shot. And when they're giving you the shot, it's not just about getting a shot at going on a date with her. It's a shot at being able to demonstrate to her that you can display masculine characteristics that she's going to find attractive. Things like being a leader, things like planning activities, things like just getting an idea of what's going to give her the best time. And the secret is this, because we think very logically, and this is where guy logic gets us in trouble. We think logically, well, in order for her to have a good time, I have to know what she likes and what she's about. That way I can do that exact thing that she says, and then she'll have a good time because she's probably done it before and she knows she'll have a good time. But you forget the part where women are very much into new experiences. They're into a little bit of mystery. They're into being not so sure if they're going to enjoy something or not. And honestly, they really enjoy just going along on the guy's journey. Like, it's interesting if you have enough conversations with women like that you're going on dates with, you'll notice that you'll start to mention certain things, and then you'll notice that they'll come right back with like, oh, that sounds like fun. I want to do that too. Like, we had an office party today at the newspaper that I work at, and it was a white elephant party. And there's a woman there that we started talking. And again, I'm not trying to get at her, but just from the conversation, there were indications that like this might possibly be somebody that would be interested. So I would say something like, oh yeah, I do my own little podcast thing. What was her response? Oh man, that's so great. I've always wanted to do my own podcast too. Women are looking to you to give them great ideas of things that they might not have thought of, and then think about the possibilities of either them doing it or them doing it with you. So this goes back to women like guys that are able to bring something to the world that they may not have considered. But that can't happen if you're asking her to think of dates, if you're asking her to give you ideas of things you can go to, or to give her ideas of stuff that she's already done that you can now do with her again, which won't let you stand out at all. So yeah, stop asking women what they want to do on a date. Like just take it out of your vocabulary. You're asking for the date, you plan the activity, and you assume she's cool with it. If she's not, she might say something like say you want to take it to like an Italian restaurant, and she says, oh, well, I'm allergic to cheese. Great. That lets you know that now you can change to something else. But the point is, this is why you need to have 3 to 5 different activities at any given time, and then realize that like any of those activities are fine. Because ultimately, the goal of the date is to connect, to talk, to see if you guys have similar interests and if you guys have a chemistry connection. So the date itself almost doesn't matter, but you trying to give the date idea to her and making her be the one to try to pick it out will definitely signal that you're not a leader guy and you're a guy that's going to probably just follow whatever she says, which makes you a doormat. And women don't want doormats. So be better at not simping on your dates. All right. So that's my little advice from me to you about what I learned during my years of simping. And you know what? As much of a simp as I was back then, I would not change that for the world, because it taught me a lot of great lessons. It gave me insights into how women think about things. And it actually motivated me to really study the psychology of women and what they're all about, and why, again, the things that I was doing wasn't actually going to help my cause in the dating world. Which, again, you can read about in my book, No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, which is available when you join the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy. And then, once again, coming out in February will be this album, the No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams soundtrack. That's right. I put together a musical album, a collection of funny songs inspired by the book that is rapped by the character Nan Wan, who you guys may have seen on this channel. He's my puppet character. But yeah, this is a great funny album that goes with a great funny book. And when you order the album that's coming out on February 10th, you'll get a free copy of the ebook No Girls For You as well. So you can read and learn, and you can also listen, learn, and get a laugh out of all this stuff. Okay, that's coming out February 10th. All right. So before I get to the previous show's question person, somebody left a comment on here saying, great video, thank you. And then the question was, what are some good date ideas? Well, again, if you join the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, I have a whole like hour-long video that is all about the type of first dates to take women on. It is a really, really good video. But what I'll tell you for now is this, is that I don't know if you live in a metropolitan city of some kind, but you can go on Google and just type in like fun date ideas to do in this city, or like what are some great dinner themed restaurants in this city. And then from there, just pick out like 3 to 5 of them. Like, it's really easy. I don't know what part of the world you're in. If you go on Groupon or any of those other sites that give discount coupons about different activities and stuff, you can go there and they have a whole list of ideas. I've done racing dates before. I've done pizza is always a fantastic thing. I've done like various different types of comedy shows. Like there's a whole gambit of things that you can do if you only do the research. And I think not enough men really research the area that they live in and trying to see what stuff's in their town that they could get into, because it's surprisingly easy if you just do like that work. And again, ultimately that first date is more about the connection. So I'd say for that first date, make it something like food. I do simple shit like pizzas, or I don't do coffee shops so much anymore because I personally I like pizza, I like P.F. Chang's, I like stuff where we can sit down and get a decent enough meal, but it's not going to break the bank, and then we get to kind of talk about stuff, And then for that second date, I try to do an action date. So that's like, your walks in the park, your hikes, comedy shows are good for that. Just something that you can dancing's really good. Like dancing's good because if you're an introvert that's nervous about breaking the touch barrier, taking a dancing class forces you to have to break the touch barrier, but it's in an environment where it's acceptable. So a woman won't think you're just trying to creep on her. She'll think, oh, well, of course I got to touch this guy in order to do these dances. And it can allow you guys to touch each other a lot faster and potentially start building up those endorphins and stuff that she's going to need to be able to want to go to bed with you. So hopefully that helps out. So now let's get into this. So in my previous live that I did, I answered a question from a guy. The live that I did was talking about texting and how you should wait. I always tell you guys, you should wait a minimum of 4 days between dates to ask a woman for another date. And that gives you the chance it gives, on her end of things, it gives her time to think about you, miss you, yada, yada, yada. But it also allows you as the guy to test to see where her temperament's at. Because a woman that is anxious and nervous and all this other stuff and has maybe had like a traumatic past, if you wait 4 days to contact her, she'll be all like, how could you do that? And blah, blah, blah. And you made me wait and this and that. And you don't want that, but you need to test for that. Whereas a woman that has a good head on her shoulders will reasonably think, you know what? A, it's early in the dating process. Maybe he had other dates, but also he could really be busy. I'm just happy that he hit me up for another date and let's go on the date. But you got to test for that kind of stuff. So this woman didn't respond well. And he said that, she assumed that he was no longer interested and she was quite offended by the fact that he didn't text back and yada, yada, yada. And so I had told him basically that, that's why you wait the 4 days to test and see if she has what her reaction is. I said, if she has a good head on her shoulders and is confident and understanding, then she won't be bothered by it. But if she gets butthurt and acts all mad, that's a sign that she's potentially unstable. And then I said, I'm curious to hear what your damage control actions have been. At which point he said that he communicated to her that maybe there was a miscommunication and that they'd both be missing out if they didn't try to meet up again, and yada, yada, yada. And then she said, I want to take some time out of dating, which we know correlates to I'm not really that interested in the first place, because women that are interested aren't trying to take any breaks in dating you at all, especially after a first date. Like, that's all BS excuses. But anyway, so he sends an update to that. And so he says, I've got a follow-up for you. She actually did text me immediately after the date, quote, get home safe and sound, mister. So the fact that she hit him back first was great. And then he said a few hours later, he said something like, I did miss, and then sleep well, X. By the way, guys, don't send X's and O's early on in your dating text. Like, for that first 3 months, let the X's and O's come from her. You doing it, it's way too much. And this is where you need to learn about what actions could you potentially be doing that are going to cause her to make it feel as though you're doing too much too soon, or you're putting out too much emotion, or you're making it where she's feeling forced to have to return these kind of compliments back to you. Like you need to be the person that's more laid back and is showing your like to her through actions. Let her be the words person for those first 3 months. Because I'm telling you, when you say stuff, they're taking it in as 3 times more than you mean it. And it's causing them to feel like this is way too much too soon. It feels too forced. He's throwing all this emotion at me because he's saying all these things and I'm reading it like this. This is why women amongst themselves speak in passive language, because passive language, they're already going to read into the things 3 times more, which is why when a woman says to another woman, oh, I'm fine, they're reading it 3 times more. It's like, oh my God, she's had the worst day ever. So you saying to her, I had a great time too, sweetie. She's thinking, oh my God, sweetie, is he already trying to boot me up? Like, I'm not there yet. So leave the verbiage to her. Anyway, so he says, after that, I didn't get back to her until 3 days later. I ended up getting the message that I just told you guys that I mentioned. And she said that she wasn't sure if I was interested because I took so long to get back to her. Now, I want you to think rationally about that, right? She's thinking he must not be interested because he took too long to get back to her. When he got back to her, what was the first thing that he asked? He asked her to go on another date. Asking somebody on a date is showing interest. The action of doing that should indicate to her that there's an interest there, regardless of how long he waited. If he waited 2 weeks or a month, at the point where he reaches out and says, hey, let's go on another date, that implies interest. So her saying, I couldn't tell if you were interested, but he was saying, I want to take you on a date. I don't know how much more interest to show her than that. And again, for you, guy, early on in the dating process, you don't owe her a lot of conversation. So for her to already assume, like, after that first date, you should be texting back and forth and all yada, 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 that indicates on her end that she's probably had some kind of bad situations in the past, some kind of trauma to where she has an overly anxious attachment style. And it's showing itself off early on by her being extremely hurt that we're after that first date. I mean, you text me that you want me to sleep well, but then I didn't hear from you. What's going on? Oh my God. Like, already bad vibes, right? So then he says, however, there was another reason, and this reason may be of further interest and worthy of a video reply, which we're doing now. She said that in the days between, she had 2 exes pop back up and message her, and that she wants to be alone at the moment to process everything going on. Pause. I have questions. My main question is this. How did her exes get in contact with her? Like, ideally, if they're an ex, she's blocking them on her phone. So unless both of these exes just happen to text her from another phone altogether, I don't see how they would have reached out to her. So that means on some level, not that she was necessarily purposely leaving the door open to get texted by the exes, but she didn't put any precaution in place to make sure that didn't happen, okay? On top of her being so devastated and distraught that she heard from 2 exes that it's just thrown her world into a tizzy, and now she can't talk to this other guy because, oh my God. And I've said this on the show before. I've been in situations where I've dated women who were divorced, who had their exes hitting them up constantly during the process of trying to figure all that stuff out. I've been with women who just went through a bad breakup. I've been with women who are experiencing deaths in the family. I've experienced women that just have an overbearing work schedule. In all these situations, these women had legit reasons to be stressed out. And they would come to me and be like, no, I want to still spend time with you because I'm the excuse for them to get away from their stress, to not have to focus on it, and to have a good time. Women that have high interest in you, interest cuts everything. Dr. Love, you said that. Rest in peace. Interest cuts everything. If she has a high interest in you, no amount of crap going on in her life is going to hold her back from being able to see you unless she's just not there. Now, this guy only had 1 date with her, so realistically, there hasn't been enough time built in to where she would have built up that kind of like, to where it's very easy for her to be able to say, I'm just kind of flaky on how I feel about him. So, oh, trauma, all these exes hit me up and now I'm distraught. And as I said earlier on in the broadcast, women know men enough to know the things they need to say to hit our logical brain. So we'll be able to say things like, well, that sounds like a reasonable excuse. So it's not me. It's just she has a lot of stuff going on. And we won't question it. Meanwhile, if she has the hottest of tens, richest of guys, hit her up in her DMs tomorrow and be like, hey, what you up to? Or not even have to be rich, just a guy that she just finds exceedingly handsome and always had a crush on, best believe she'd get over those exes real quick and be able to be like, well, I got a few hours to spend with you. So you got to learn to let go of your ego and stop thinking that you're the best thing since sliced bread. Because the reality is, even if you think you're so great, women that you're dating, sometimes it just won't gel with them that you're that great. They might think he's okay, but this other guy's better, or he's okay, but I'm not feeling him on the level of wanting to go out with him. And then you got to realize women don't want to be confrontational, so they'll just give some BS excuse and hope that you believe it, so you'll go away. But this is all passive language. Oh, I'm not, you took so long, and oh, I'm not sure how I feel now, and I just need time to myself. That's all her passive way of communicating to you that she's not interested, because the end result is the same. Whether she had trauma going on, whether she got extremely busy, the result is the same, which is she's not trying to spend time with you or make an excuse to spend time with you. Therefore, you're out. It doesn't matter what her reasoning is. The result is you don't get to see her. You know? So anyway, she says from some of the things she said on her date, she said she has no interest in any of her exes, but I get the feeling she still gets a bit emotionally thrown when they reappear for whatever reason. Let's say that's true. That means this is not an emotionally stable woman, because right now, if she's hypothetically not quite over both of her exes, then yeah, you're not going to be able to win at that, and you're still out, you know? Continuing, he says, she also let me know on the date that she found out she had a stalker. So, this girl's got a lot going on. So even just the drama level alone at this point, I'd be like, you know what? Go handle that. I'm out. He says, so my feeling is she's doing the I can't handle any men right now thing. In her message, she was quite glowing about the date and said this wasn't an issue between her and I. But it is an issue between like her and her feelings for you, of which they are quite low. Because, and this is the thing, and they teach us this and I did sales for a long time. This is how they teach you how to, like, it's like the whole good news, bad news, good news. You give a compliment, hey, you're such a great guy. Then you give the bad news. Oh, but I just don't think I can see you now because I can't handle men right now. And there's always stuff going with my exes and my stalker, this and that. And then you sandwich it again with good news. But I had a really good time on the date and you're really a great guy. She literally did this whole program. But the end result is now in her head, I hope that's going to keep him away from asking me out anymore, because right now, for whatever reason, I'm not feeling it. Now, if he leaves her alone, she could change her mind. She could be like, you know what? It's been a couple of weeks and I actually do miss that guy. I want to go out with him again. But you can't bank your whole interest in her on that. Like, you can't assume that that's what's going to happen. As a guy, you have to learn to look at what's actually happening in front of you in the moment. So you can't say, well, she's not feeling guys now, but I'll still try to be her friend and I'll stick around because in about 3 weeks or so, when she's over it, she's going to want to date me. No, in the moment she's saying, I'm not interested. She's saying, I can't handle you right now. She's saying that, oh, you text me 4 days after our date, so now I don't know how you like me, so I don't know how I feel. You got to take that at face value and say, okay, well, then whatever. And then so anyway, he says, I told her to get back to me when she's ready, which is kind of a Corey Wayne thing. I am not sure if you would have advised that. I like Corey Wayne stuff. I watch his videos every morning still to this day. And so I would say that, yeah, realistically, what you don't want to do is this. You don't want to do the thing that most guys do, which is give the butthurt response of, well, but we had such a good thing going, and how could you do this, you slore, and blah, blah, this and that. No. Because the thing is, sometimes women do need time. And sometimes you'll go out with a woman, you'll show the best time you can, and then she'll say, like, I'm not feeling it right now, whatever. But if you leave the door open and just say, hey, you know what? That's totally cool. You know what? I would phrase it like this. I would say, hey, you know what? That's great. Get back to me later on. If I'm still available, then we can link up. That lets her know that I'm not going to wait around for her, because I am going to be, chasing other potentials out there. But that on the off chance that there's a break in my schedule and that maybe I'm not serious with somebody yet and she comes back, if I decide to entertain it, sure, why not? And I've had that happen where it's like, I've literally had where, like, I've hooked up with women for a little bit and then they're like, oh, I'm not feeling it now, and, whatever. And I'll just be like, all right, cool. And then like a few months later, hey, what's going on? Oh, we can hook up again. And so you never know if that's going to be a thing. But the thing is, if you just leave it where it's like on really bad terms and you're going to just feel like you hurt my feelings and you're just using guys, yada, 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 then you'll never be able to experience that. And sometimes the women come back later and realize like maybe they had some stuff going on. Maybe she legit is like really afraid of this stalker and wants to just stay in her home for a few weeks while she figures out the stalker situation, or maybe she really is legitimately crying about her exes to where she knows she has work to do on herself to get over that. Okay, fine. Give her that grace and say, if you need to handle all that stuff, it is what it is. Hey, again, if you want to hit me up later and I'm still available, we can see what's what. And you never know if that could turn into something great if you leave it on butthurt, feelings and stuff. He says, I get the feeling that she is actually interested in me and that her response about this being about confusion was actually genuine due to the depth of the message reply. Well, again, right now, it's all smoke and mirrors. And even then, you're trying to say, well, I think she's still actually interested. If in the moment she had a high interest in you, you'd be going out with her on another date. That's just the reality. So right now, based on the signal she's giving you, the interest there, if it is there, it's very, very, very low. I want you guys to chase after women that are like enthusiastic about the fact that you hit them up at any time to ask them for a date. So while this is great, right now, she goes on the back burner. I would say don't call her, don't text her. Oh, this is kind of stuff Corey Lane would say. Like, yeah, until she comes back to you and says, hey, so-and-so, what's going on? Like, you have no more reason to reach out to this woman. Like, you can spend your time and energy now focusing on other women that would have a higher interest and that would actually be happy to go out with you. If you need help, though, on what those steps should actually be in the course of that first 3 months to really help build her attraction faster and to better solidify her feelings, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy. You get a 2-day free trial just for signing up, so definitely check it out, all right? But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate the comment. Great channel, mate. Cheers. I appreciate that a lot. Comment 23. Like I said to you guys who are just joining, I have an album that's coming out that correlates with my book. So my book is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is a soundtrack album that is a companion piece to that. It's a collection of funny songs put together by my puppet character, Nan Wan. So it's a lot of funny songs that's all about dating mishaps, and being able to hopefully figure out what those things are. It's coming out February 10th. When you get the album, you will get a free copy of the book as well. And so I'm probably going to start doing pre-orders like mid-January just to see what the interest and stuff is there. But either way, the album's coming out. And like I said, I recorded it. It's hilarious. It's funny. It's insightful in parts, but it's really just meant to be like a funny piece. And then you get the ebook, which teaches you why all the things you're probably doing right now to try to get women actually causes you to lose them, okay? It's a 156-page ebook, so you'll get a lot of lessons out of that while being able to laugh your head off at this album, okay? So again, I'm going to start putting out music videos. I've already recorded some music videos for this album, and I'll be doling them out every Friday in January up until the release of the album, all right? So you have that to look forward to in the new year. But guys, thank you so much for checking out this. If you got anything out of this, do me a favor too. You can show your support for the show by leaving a nice little Cash App or monetary donation. Any amount is appreciated. I just like being able to do this to help you guys out. And so if you want to show your appreciation, that's great. But hopefully you're getting stuff out of this that's actually helping you to be able to better your dating lives, all right? Also follow me on TikTok. When I'm going out of town. I was going to be tomorrow, but it's snowing in Chicago. So I'm going to be going out of town on Saturday for a week. So I'll be putting up TikToks during the course of the week. So be sure to follow me on TikTok as well, guys. Thank you so much for joining this broadcast. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh,